You're very welcome to the UCD Michael Smurfit Graduate Business School webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about relocating and studying in Dublin. We'll have a lovely panel discussion with current students. The session is aimed at international students who are planning to move to Dublin. So hopefully you can get some really good ideas and tips on what to take into account when planning to move to Dublin. I would like to introduce my panelists, but before I do that, my name is Jola. I look after international students here in the Michael Smurfit Graduate Business School. I'll provide my email address towards the end of the session. So if you have any questions with regards to moving to Ireland and studying in UCD, you're very welcome to contact me. Okay, so also to mention that we have a Q&A box at the bottom, so you can put in your questions. And what we'll do, we're going to look at them at the very end of the session. Additionally, I would like to introduce one of my colleagues from Smurfit, Kathy, who is going to be managing the Q&A session for us. So let me introduce the panelists. If you guys could turn your screen on, please. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. So we're joined by Jareen and Subhadra from MSc Supply Chain Management, and by Andrew from Aviation Finance, and also Jackie from SEMS Master in Management. Okay, so could you guys just very briefly say hello, introduce yourselves, and tell us just, I suppose, briefly why you chose to study in Smurfit, and yeah, over to you, please. So maybe Jackie first.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jola. So I'm Jackie, and I've been to a couple of business schools around the world. So I think I have the authority to tell you why I chose UCD Smurfit. So UCD Smurfit is so far the most diverse business school I've ever been. So you're gonna find, whenever you're from, you're gonna find something from your home. You're gonna have a taste of Irish. You're gonna have a taste of everywhere. And also Smurfit Business School has excellent academic record. So you can see with the years going, and the rankings are going up exponentially. So UCD is gonna fulfill your potential. Is your future, master it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Subhadra, how are you?
Hi. Basically, UCD was a no-brainer because I think the first thing that I noticed was the employability ranking, and it was really good. And I guess the aim of a master's at the end of it for all of us is to get a good job and to have a really successful career ahead. And UCD really supports that. It encourages you and it gives you the right platform to begin from.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Andrew, would you share your thoughts?
Yeah, sure. I suppose just to echo Subhadra, it was a no-brainer for me. And from my perspective, it was really because I had a very set target in terms of what I wanted to study, which was aviation finance. And I think globally, UCD is one of only 2 or 3 universities that offered it. So the decision was quite easy in the sense that Ireland, being home of the aviation finance industry, just has a pool of talent which the university is connected to, and whom a lot of guest lecturers have come into as part of our program as well. So yeah, it was a very easy choice for me.
Thank you so much. And Jareen?
Oh, yeah, thanks, Jola. It's been 5 months since I moved to Dublin, and prior to my master's, I was working as a senior procurement analyst in a Fortune 500 company. So, I felt that I wanted to study end-to-end supply chain of an organization, having worked in a procurement division, and UCD was the perfect fit. My priority was to study master's in an English-speaking country, and also a place which has enough market for supply chain industry. UCD and Ireland actually fit all my criteria and check the boxes, and I'm glad to be studying here. And right now the course is ranked top 10 in the world, so I'm actually very honored to be a part of UCD and this particular course.
Great, thank you so much. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask Jackie to talk to us first about his experiences. Jackie, if you want to share your slides. I know you've got time limitations and you have other commitments. So if you could just tell us from your perspective, how to best proceed with preparation for studying in Dublin. what would be your tips for our lovely audience?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, no problem.
Okay. So, right. Okay, I'm gonna just quickly jump to the relocation tips for our incoming students. And those are the tips for housing, grocery shopping, transportation, and the banking, all the things that you are gonna need. But however, I want to stress here, look at the red words. Remember this word, Weatherspoons. That's the place you're gonna go the most during your year. Yeah, during your year.
Socializing, absolutely.
Yeah,
meeting new people.
And other tips, I think they're gonna be covered by my colleagues. So I'm gonna give you some other more tips on the Ireland as a country and on you as the expat in Ireland. So first of all, our Irish society is built on kindness and respect. So please help each other as you can, and you're gonna feel the friendliness and kindness from people right after the rubber hit the ground and after you exit the airport. Also give enough patience to our hardworking UCD staff. They receive hundreds of thousands of emails every day, but they might be a little bit slow, but trust us, trust them, they're gonna get there eventually. Also, I encourage you to be softer when giving criticism, especially in academic discussion. Some of our colleagues, the Chinese, the Germans, they're very straightforward.
It's a melting pot, isn't it? Absolutely, yes.
But here, I encourage you to be softer to our colleagues, and trust me, it's gonna be the starting point of your interpersonal development and your career development. The second one is don't make friends with a specific purpose in Ireland, in UCD. Also everywhere is the tip for you guys. So during the orientation, look around at the students around you. They're not your business partners yet. They're not your career ladders yet. They're just your friends. Don't care about their color, their blue, purple, white, black, yellow. If they're your friends, they're just your friends in a new environment. And lastly, I want to say all of you are very smart, full of potential, and in the future, you're gonna be solving the global issues, the most challenging issues that gonna confuse next generation. But however, when you be more academically excellent, also be more modest, because that's the greatest quality that separates a global player and a global leader. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jackie. That's great. I know you have to rush as well, so I just want to say thank you so much for your insights. I liked your angle on the kind of diversity and really reaching out. That's important. It's to speak to people, to make new friends. Absolutely, thank you so much. So now questions for our other lovely panelists. So I suppose I only have, I have prepared 3 questions for you, and I suppose the first one would be, when and how should the incoming students prepare to start in Smurfit at the end of August? When can they start preparing, on what would be the top 3 tips you'll have for them at this stage? Jareen, would you like to share your experiences, please? Thank you.
I would definitely advise anyone to start early with their application. Get your documents sorted, like your university transcripts, SOP, IELTS scores. The most time-consuming part is getting the letter of recommendation from your university and actually to write a statement of purpose as well. So once you're sorted with the documents, apply early in October when the application is open. Some courses require video interviews, like our course, MSc in Supply Chain Management, required a video interview. So you will be given practice sessions. Prepare well, get used to the format, give your best shot, and wait for the decision from the UCD. The sooner you apply, the better is the chance of getting an early admit, I would say. Having an offer well in advance lets you prepare well your finance, accommodation, and also a chance to connect with the fellow UCDians even before you depart to Dublin. I had at least 30 to 40 odd friends before I applied for a visa. And talking about visa, the visa process itself Might look a little intimidating, but trust me, it's simple as long as you have all the documents sorted. So start early, be ahead with your application to UCD. That would be the key takeaway.
And when do you apply for your visa? So if you're visa required students, what would be the earliest? Because you couldn't apply now for August. It's February.
Yeah, exactly. So usually it's in the month of May, but due to the current pandemic situations, we had to apply in the month of July. So which is actually pretty late, but usually it's in the month of April and May.
It's usually 12 weeks, isn't it? When a visa is granted, it's got a life of yeah, absolutely, 12 weeks, so 3 months prior to arrival.
Yes.
Perfect. So Padra, what were your experiences? What would you think at this stage students could do to prepare?
Definitely what Jaren said is completely correct. It's best to get your applications done as soon as possible. And definitely most of it is first come, first serve, but it can be daunting, waiting for the reply. It can really make you anxious. And just don't lose hope, because I finished my application in December, but I got my offer in July. And
wow.
Yes, so you just need to keep your hope out there. And the visa process is, again, it's just scary because of the way people look at it. If you have all your documents in order and you are well prepared, you're going to be fine. And just,
yes, it's basically not a last minute job. We try to make sure that all documents are very clearly stated and very clear in the way you present them for the visa office. So this stage, okay. And did you, when at this time last year, let's presume you have an offer, or even if you don't, were you trying to maybe look for accommodation or at least research it?
So my approach to this was first joining all the Facebook groups, whichever group came into my site, be it for UCD upcoming batch, UCD Indian students, or Indians in Ireland, accommodation websites, student accommodation Facebook groups. I just joined all of them. And if you put a query out there on one of those platforms, they actually get back to you. And it's a really supportive and a collaborative community. So once you join those Facebook groups, they kind of help you out and you figure it out on your own on the way.
Okay, so engaging early, but absolutely. Okay, thank you so much. That's a great tip. Andrew, I know you were engaged from quite early on. What do you think at this stage could you tell students to do? Is there anything they can do at this early?
Yeah, I mean, I just echo the previous two speakers in terms of getting prepared as early as possible. It also depends really on your personal circumstances. Like I myself am a mature age student, so I have a lot of baggage, not necessarily just physical. So in terms of getting prepared, also getting mentally prepared is another big thing. The other advantage of doing everything as soon as you can is there's always going to be something that comes up later. Whether it be, okay, you want to apply for scholarships, that takes a bit of time. Whether it be you have farewell parties to attend before coming to Ireland, whether it be to wrap up your own sort of personal business or whatever before coming here, there's always going to be something that continuously pops up. And especially with our experience and kind of the situation that we were in last year, things were always changing. So you need to give yourself a bit of a buffer to handle those things. I myself I'm not from a country that required a visa. So that's one issue I didn't have to deal with. But yeah, as sort of Jaren alluded to, the visa process for those who require it can take a bit of time. So give yourself that additional buffer as much as possible.
Thank you so much. So let's say it's closer to the summertime and say it's May, you've applied for your visa, or if you don't need a visa, what would you what would be your next step? How would you go about organizing relocation? I know, Andrew, you lived on campus, but in terms of coming in, like how much, I suppose, is there anything unexpected that you budgeted for, or did you prepare in another way before coming to Ireland? I think you came to Smurfit to visit prior to arriving and starting the studies. But so in terms of organising accommodation, Jareen and Padra, what were your experiences? Maybe Jareen first.
So a lot of my friends were reluctant to do, one thing, which was like finding an accommodation before arriving to Ireland. There are actually tons of options to, find them. You have Daft, you have Rent.ie, and as Subhadra was mentioning, there's Facebook group Accommodation for Accommodation for Indians in Dublin. So there are a lot of options, and then you have like student accommodation like universityliving.ie, where you can find individual and shared rooms to choose. Like in my case, I found a place through Daft, and I asked one of my friend who was already doing his masters here in Dublin to go and audit this place. We got the videos from him. We were happy with the apartment, and then we went on to book the place 1 month before the start of the course. So this actually helped us to check into the place directly straight from the airport. And we also requested the landlord to send us the pictures and the videos of utensils available inside the apartment, so that we could plan accordingly what and what not to take from our home country. So this could be a great option, but if not, UCD has an amazing residence inside the Smurfit campus. I'm sure Subhadra and Akal would agree to that. And there are a number of alternatives. You just have to do your research, keep browsing, and you'll definitely find one for sure.
Thank you so much. I suppose the message we always send from UCD is do not book off-campus accommodation until you arrive, or unless you actually physically visit it. There are very few cases of misconduct or of students being unfortunate with an internet search, because we always advise don't pay for anything in advance. Arrive early enough to find a place to live. So and Subhadra, you live on campus at the moment, and I think there is a Q&A. There was a question about on-campus accommodation. When does it open, and when can the students start arriving in the facility? I can kind of cover that myself in generally, but in terms of your experiences living on campus, I suppose that's a very comfortable option because you're in the vicinity of the school and you arrive and it's all prepared for you.
Yes, definitely. So far, it has been extremely comfortable, and I have had no issues. And I guess in our situation, we were actually told to come in at least 2 weeks before the course began, so that we could, get over the 14-day isolation period. And,
that's right.
Get used to the climate and the way of life here, maybe settle in a bit. It is, I believe it would be similar for the upcoming batch, that they can come in a bit early. And UCD's form service, in which we could input our arrival dates, the whole journey, in a way, that was really helpful. So we could inform Proby beforehand, and they made arrangements for us accordingly. And they were really quick with their email replies, so that was good.
That's
and for me, it was a bit last minute, but I believe you can start booking the residence as soon as you have your unconditional offer letter.
Yes, what happens is the UCD residences contact our students with valid accepts. So you have to have an offer and accept an offer. Could be a conditional offer, it doesn't have to be a full offer. And at that stage, you could book your accommodation. You're not allocated to a particular room or apartment until later, probably May or June. And I think this year has been particularly challenging with the COVID and self-isolation. So basically students were allocated rooms as they arrived rather than booking them in advance. So it's all, the logistics of it depends on the situation. Fingers crossed, it's at the moment in Ireland, the pandemic is improving. It's significantly improved in the recent weeks. So hopefully by end of summer, we will be on the other side, the brighter side of it, but obviously we don't know. Thank you so much, Subhadra. Andrew, would you have any other general, I suppose, tips in terms of pre-arrival? Do the students, even practical information, do students need to bring cash or a card? What would be, or practically, is there anything else that you could share with them?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned cash or card there. I think budgeting is definitely something you want to do before you get, before you get on campus. Obviously, there's information out there in terms of how much accommodation costs. You can Google information in terms of how much, food, transport, all that kind of thing. Factor that in. To address that question of cash or card, I think obviously, again, with COVID, everyone's moving towards, contactless payments. So where possible, obviously have a card handy, but at the end of the day, no one's going to turn you back if you have cash. Yeah, I think that was it really. In terms of sort of getting to know the area, if you have contacts in Dublin, I think that would be helpful as well. Or even sort of just researching, again, when you look for accommodation, researching the area around where you're going to live in terms of, where you're going to buy your groceries, where your closest bus stop or DART station is. I think that would be helpful as well.
Yeah, I suppose if, depending on the situation in August, but if students will need to self-isolate for the 14 days, it's that research that's important as well. If you're not coming to structured accommodation, like student accommodation, where there's a preferred supplier for online grocery shopping. So the structure is there for you. It'd be good to do a little bit of homework ahead because it's overwhelming coming to new country. So it's good to prepare.
I'd say also pay attention to your emails because UC does put on a lot of webinars sort of country by country so that people can ask these type of questions and to obviously update on the changing information as it becomes clearer as you get closer to your travel date. So yeah, definitely pay attention to your emails and the webinars that are out there.
Absolutely, and there's actually really good support in UCD, and I suppose I'm one of the staff that looks after incoming students. So for queries and questions, the more you ask them, the better prepared you are. So that's really what I'd like to encourage you to do. What would you do differently if you were to come again? Is there anything that you would like to know ahead of coming? I mean, not necessarily mistakes you've made, but is there anything that you would do differently? For example, during the onboarding time, but also the start of term, or I suppose any other advice that you'll have for students. That's my last question for today's session. Subhadra. Or maybe there isn't.
Yeah, I'm sure I must have missed out a few points while planning to come here, but so far I haven't faced any issues. And my only suggestion would be to travel light because I know a lot of people it's a way to make ourselves feel secure and safe. We end up traveling with a lot of luggage, and that is one thing you don't want to do. You can literally find everything you want over here. It's not going to be an issue. And if you're not being able to find something, then you can contact anybody, or there's always going to be somebody who knows where to find things. That is just one tip. Like, travel light. Don't burden yourself with unnecessary things.
Thank you so much. Turin?
Yeah, like as Subhadra was saying, I personally gave up a lot of my luggage space for, spices and Indian masalas while traveling. So you could probably, get things that you actually need, like, clothing, or, you don't have to, get your raincoats and, heavy jackets. You can definitely find it here. So I would say to travel light, and pretty much that's it. Like, nothing else new, to be honest.
Prepare for very changeable weather is something I would say. It's because it's in Ireland, it's an island, obviously the weather changes quite a lot, and it's the layering, the famous layering of you can take it off, take it on depending on the weather. Andrew, anything from you? Would you like to add any other information, tips or experiences?
Not to sound contradictory, but I suppose, yes, do travel light, but make sure that the space that you have is dedicated towards warm clothes, because that was something that I wasn't very prepared for.
Really?
And also, I suppose, again, depending on a personal preference, exercise gear or workout clothes. I suppose that's one of the things that you still can do these days. So, going out for a run, going out for walks, going for hikes, yeah, those kind of active gear I would pack into the limited space that you have.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Andrew. Okay, so what we might do is ask Kathy to bring us a few questions from the audience
Great.
Please.
Thank you so much, Jola. Hello, everyone, and you're very welcome to today's session. I'm Kathy Timlin, the Marketing Manager for Smurfit School. So a couple of questions coming in, Jola, mainly around accommodation, as you've picked up on already. One person has asked, is off-campus accommodation more affordable than on-campus accommodation? Perhaps you can speak to that, Jola.
Absolutely. Doreen, you lived off campus, and that's what you picked. Why was there a cost involved in your decision making, and in general, what would be your response?
Like we found a place. We wanted to live with the people, from the same state. So I had friends to come along to the same apartment. So we chose that. Cost wise, it's pretty much the same. It could be a little cheaper, but on a long run, I think if you want to have a private room for yourself, then I think the UCD in-campus accommodation would be better.
Okay, it's an en-suite setup, so you have your own bathroom as well.
Yeah.
And just to mention, for when you book on-campus accommodation, UCD, you need to commit to 2 semesters. So from September or end of August until mid-May, and then there's an option to stay in the summer as well. And there's always places, so there is no worry about that. So it's very hard, I suppose, researching it and checking out the websites and doing your own research. But at the moment, I think when you were to compare it, it might be a tiny bit more expensive to live on campus, but it's got the, I suppose, the luxury of not looking for a place and being assured that there is a room waiting for you. Any other questions, Kim?
Jola, just again on campus accommodation, you mentioned that you can apply for it once you have an offer and accepted your offer. Is there a time frame when the campus accommodation is made available as such, and will, I suppose, people be notified of that?
Yes, so UCD residents, what happens is UCD residents contact our offer holders who have accepted a place directly. Last year was possibly different because of the pandemic and the unexpected turn of planning and the additional logistics, but it's an ongoing process from the spring. So as soon as they're ready to take in bookings, there will be an email going to all offer accepts with specific steps, and it's an ongoing. So it will be going on throughout the spring as well. That's at least, that's at least what happened last year.
Another question that's come in is around sort of budgeting and cost of living, I guess, here in Dublin. I don't know if any of the panelists would be able to talk about that, from a cost of living point of view, just to give some indicators.
Yeah, so Padra, would you like to share your experiences, please? Thank you so much.
In terms of cost of living, so on-campus accommodation is a bit expensive compared to off-campus, but like Jola said, it comes with a set of luxury. I have my own room. It's en-suite. That means I have an attached bathroom, and the apartment came with utensils. So that was one thing. I did not carry anything from back home, so I did not have to buy anything as well over here. And in the sense of budgeting, I think it depends on mostly your food habits. I mean, your biggest expense is going to be your eating, other than your rent. Rent is going to be pretty much fixed, but your monthly expense could come up to, say, 200 euros. So it actually depends on how you, or what kind of a lifestyle you lead. If you like to spend a lot, then you're going to spend a lot. So it just depends.
Okay. Andrew, what do you think? I suppose it's a
it's a very, it really depends on your personal preference. Like, I mean, just to use myself as an example, I would say 30 euros worth of groceries will last me a week. I'll treat myself to a Deliveroo once a week, which costs about 20 euros. In terms of transport, I think probably in some of the later sessions, you'll talk about Leap Card and that kind of thing. But I mean, with the restriction at the moment, we're not going much in terms of distance away from our accommodation. But yeah, like food, again, entertainment is probably not something you want to budget for at the moment, unless you do enjoy your online shopping, but that really depends on, yeah, your own personal preference.
Okay, thank you so much. Jorin, what would you like to add?
Yeah, so we found this accommodation, very close to the seafront, and the cost of, the rent was also, quite less compared to the hostel accommodation from the UCD. So we had like a budget to, allocate for, the living expenses as well. So it's not taking that much. I would say about, 500 to 600 euros a month, should be more than sufficient to actually last if you're not spending lavishly.
Okay, thank you so much, Jorin.
And I guess, Jola, it's worth adding, like as Jackie alluded to in his presentation at the beginning, there are lots of options when it comes to, shopping and going out. You do have the more, from a retail point of view, the likes of Lidl or Aldi are and they have stores close to Blackrock and to the campus, which are widely available. So you can go high end or low end. So there is a good range available in terms of managing costs of living. So I suppose it's worth pointing that out. And equally from an entertainment point of view, I think he mentioned Wetherspoons was one of his favourite places. So, and that's in the local area also.
Absolutely, yes. We will have loads of information on kind of a relocation closer to the time during orientation as well. So
great.
Yes, absolutely.
Super. I guess just something that question that I'd like to ask is, what really, as international students, what have been the real benefits you have experienced from studying here, and maybe also to touch on some of the challenges, because obviously it's been an exceptional year this year. So we might start with the benefits if you want to maybe pick one. Jaron, would you like to start?
Yeah, so I would say that we thought of we were said that we might be having blended courses, but unfortunately due to the circumstances it had to go online. But I would definitely say that there's no compromise done on the the level or the quality of education that's been given to us. It's just perfect, and it's as per the expectations. I would say it's actually helping us a lot. The professors are doing every bit possible to get us all the knowledge transferred to us. So I would say that I don't regret taking the decision to pursue my master's this year.
That's great to hear. Thank you.
Great, Jaron. Andrew, would you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I would say take advantage of the the fact that things are online, and I would also say turn on your cameras, turn on your microphones, participate as much as you can, because it really to get out as much of this course as possible, it really depends on you. So I don't think sort of using COVID as an excuse is a real excuse anymore. I think to Jaron's point, from the faculty perspective, everyone is putting as much effort into it as they used to. So there are no changes there. The other, I suppose, advantage is it just makes it so much easier to reach out to people, whether they be, alumni, potential employers. It's not as if, 5 years ago, you could have easily just kind of phone someone or Zoom someone, whereas nowadays you can very easily, and people obviously make themselves very available for this kind of thing. So yeah, take advantage of the situation.
That's great. Andrew, I think we've covered off most of the questions that have come in. Some attendees are asking if they could perhaps connect with you on LinkedIn, if you would be happy to do that. So look, we can perhaps look to connect after, post event.
Absolutely. Maybe before we wrap up, I would like to share contact details for anyone who has further questions, either for our panelists or for myself. Let me just, if that's going to, no, that's not the one, apologies. My presentation, here it is, apologies. So basically, so this is email address for queries regarding application would be smurfit.admissions@ucd.ie. So anything to do with your process of applying to the school, or providing documents for your conditional offer, and also program queries would be Smurfit admissions. And then any questions with regards to moving to Ireland, or I suppose any questions that incoming students might have, I'm very welcome, and I can put you in touch with our panelists as well. So my name is Jola Meagher, and it's jola.meagher@ucd.ie.
Great, Jola. And another question just has popped in there regarding transportation in Dublin. Now, obviously, we're based in Blackrock in the southern part of the city. Just there are bus and the DART, which is a train link to the city. But this person is asking, would it be a good idea also to get a bike as a mode of transport to get around? I don't know if any of the panelists have experience of that.
Darren, you live off campus, I suppose for you. It's you don't live too far.
Actually not. So I mean, I haven't got a bike for myself because it's a good thing to do in summers, but I'm definitely not doing it in the winters because it's kind of windy. Though you have like specific lanes for the bikes and stuff, it's still kind of daunting to ride a bicycle like heavy winds. But it's a very good thing to do. I mean, you can buy a bike and travel around the city. But if not, you have a very well laid out bus routes. And
yeah, and Jaron, I suppose it's worth mentioning as well that we have bikes available actually at the campus that you can kind of take bikes as you go. I'm not entirely sure what they're called, but people might use them to get up to the main campus.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I suppose that's the way to look at it, is kind of a bigger picture, look at the transportation and look at where you'd like to live and plan that way, rather than finding a place to live and then trying to figure out how to get to Smurfit.
And also, I suppose it's worth mentioning that the village of Blackrock itself is within walking distance of the campus. And there you have supermarkets, banks, post office, a lot of amenities. And that's literally a 5-minute walk from the campus. So there's lots on the doorstep.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Kathy.
Not to forget the beach.
Please, yes, go ahead.
Not to forget the beach view right by the Blackrock village. It's a wonderful.
Thanks, Erin.
Yeah, there's loads of places absolutely to spend weekends and afternoons. Yes, so that's just adds to the facilities as well. Thank you so much.
Great. Another question there is just about the access to a fitness centre at the Blackrock campus. Unfortunately, we don't have a fitness centre at the main UCD fitness centre, which is state of the art, with a 50-metre pool is available up on the main Belfield campus, which people can access there, and our students have free access to that. But what we do certainly is offer, I think there's virtual classes available at the moment, and otherwise fitness classes were also available on campus. They were provided by UCD Sport and Fitness. So I don't know if any of the panelists have direct experience of accessing that.
No, we run them up.
Yeah, the Belfield one is available. It's obviously, well, you can ride there on a bike or you can walk in about 30-40 minutes. But if you're staying around Blackrock, there are plenty of reasonably priced third-party gyms around, which hopefully will open in a month or so when the restrictions ease. But yeah, there are a lot of options around Blackrock.
Yeah, but students have access to all UCD facilities because you are UCD students. So any facility on main campus is really for your use. Absolutely, yes. Okay, Kathy, is there any other questions?
And I see one final question just in terms of accessing, the Facebook community groups. How do you best come in contact with current students in these times? Are there any particular tips in terms of accessing those Facebook community groups?
Guys, any of you? Thank you.
Yeah, I guess I think if you just type in UCD in the search bar, you'll get multiple options for groups. And another good way to connect to alumni or current students would be LinkedIn. And once you join those, the Facebook groups, you'll find links to certain WhatsApp groups as well. And they will have students from all over the world. They're going to be country specific as well. They're going to be course specific. Once you join the WhatsApp community, you'll have every person available. I guess it's all through Facebook, and you don't need to ask permission to join any of the Facebook groups. You just find the group that you find most relevant to your case, and you just join in, and you'll see all the posts. And if you post something, people do reply. So just, it's easy. It's not
That's
really.
excellent. Yeah, thank you.
Great. And actually, I'm just going to put up on the chat, Jola, where people can access the chat function on our website if they wish to connect with the current student. So I've just put that up on the chat if anybody wants to perhaps click on that and check that out also.
Perfect. That's great. Thank you so much.
And maybe, I know we're almost towards the end of our session here. The final question there is around medical insurance. Is that required for international students before coming to Ireland?
Yeah, so EU students would have their EU medical card, and non-EU students, then depending, I suppose, whether you're visa required or non-visa required, there will be slightly different requirements, the minimum requirements. So for the visa, is once you go through the application process, it will outline what exactly is needed. Now for non-visa required students, Andrew, you didn't have to apply for visa. Did you just pick any health insurance, or how did you decide, or what was your what advice would you have?
There are a number of options for health insurance. Again, depends on your circumstances, but I went with the UCD recommend one. So I believe it's on the UCD website, and there is a
Study and Protect.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect. Yes. I think that's the one that's being used for students for visa application, because that's one of the mandatory requirements. But that would be ideal. So on the UCD Global Office website, under Immigration tab, you'll find a link and recommendation. Okay.
That's great. Thanks so much, Jola. I don't see any other questions coming in from our attendees, but obviously we'd encourage all of our attendees to perhaps join some of our other sessions happening today. And indeed, there is another admission session, or a general admission session at 4 o'clock today, if you might be interested in attending that. And obviously, you know, as Andrew mentioned, and Jola, there will be other webinars available to incoming students over the coming months, and we would really encourage you to engage with those. But we thank you for your time joining us, and also thanks to Jola and our wonderful panelists.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Kathy, and thank you to all the attendees. Take care. Bye.